The orbiting city of Aeloria hung like a fragile jewel suspended in the cold void, its gleaming towers reflecting the sickly pale light of the dying star around which it revolved. Natasha Vera stood alone on the observation deck, her alabaster skin almost glowing beneath the faint flickering illumination. The star's fading light cast long shadows across her face, highlighting the sharp lines carved by years of cybernetic augmentation and battles fought in silence. Outside the panoramic window, the cosmos stretched endlessly, black and indifferent. The star, once a brilliant sun, now throbbed with unstable pulses, each flare sending ripples of unease through the city's core. Natasha's eyes, a piercing shade of ice, never wavered from the celestial spectacle. She was a sentinel in the twilight, the last line of defense between humanity and oblivion. Her breath was steady, but beneath the calm surface, a storm churned. Memories, fractured and elusive, haunted her. The night she lost her family, the experimental procedure that left her skin ghostly white, the endless training that forged her into something more than human. She was a warrior shaped by tragedy, burdened with a power that alienated her from those she once loved. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. Natasha turned sharply to the console embedded in the wall. The city council was calling. The message was terse. Anomalies had been detected, power surges near the city's core, unexplained and erratic. The council suspected sabotage. The Veilborn faction, long thought suppressed, might be behind it. Natasha's jaw tightened. The Veilborn, led by the enigmatic Quill Ardent, were a ghost from the past, fanatics obsessed with reshaping humanity's destiny by harnessing the star's dying energy. If they succeeded, it would mean death for Aeloria and all who lived within its shimmering walls. She turned back to the star, its light flickering like a dying ember. Time was slipping away, her pale fingers clenched into fists. She would not let this world fall, not while she still drew breath. The city's fate, and perhaps humanity's, rested on the edge of a blade, and Natasha was the only one sharp enough to wield it. The subterranean tunnels beneath Aeloria whispered secrets in the dark. Natasha moved like a ghost, her footsteps silent on the cold metal grates. The air was thick with the scent of burnt circuits and stale coolant, a stark contrast to the sterile luxury above. Here, in the veins of the city, the Veilborn thrived. Natasha's pale face was hidden beneath a hood, her eyes sharp and scanning every shadow. Her enhancements hummed softly beneath her skin, nerves heightened, senses sharpened. She was no longer just human, she was a weapon, forged from pain and technology. Ahead, faint voices echoed, urgent, conspiratorial. She slipped through a grated doorway, blending into the darkness as figures gathered around a holographic projection. At the center stood Quill Ardent, his presence magnetic and chilling. His eyes burned with an unnatural intensity, the kind born from obsession and cold intellect. "Time is a fleeting thing," Quill's voice cut through the murmur. "The star's death is our crucible. From its ashes, we will forge a new humanity, stronger, perfected. Aeloria's core will be our catalyst." Natasha's heart pounded. The Veilborn's plan was more than sabotage. They intended to weaponize the star itself. She raised a concealed device, sending a silent alert to the council. But before she could retreat, a sharp voice hissed behind her, "You shouldn't be here!" A hand seized her arm, pulling her into the shadows. Natasha's reflexes ignited, muscles and circuits moving in flawless sync. She broke free, vanishing into the labyrinth before anyone could see the ghost in their midst. But the warning had been given. Quill knew she was coming. Outside, the city's neon glow flickered in the distance. The war for Aeloria had begun. The sterile light of the safe house was a harsh contrast to the shadows Natasha had just escaped. She removed her hood, revealing the stark whiteness of her skin almost glowing against the dim interior. The weight of her cybernetic limbs felt heavier here, where memories surfaced unbidden. Across the room sat Dr. Lees, a disgraced scientist, whose research into human augmentation had once been celebrated until ethical lines were crossed. Now, his pale eyes were clouded with regret. Beside him, Jarek, a grizzled ex-soldier with a haunted past, cleaned his weapon in silence. "We're running out of time," Natasha said, voice low but steady. "Quill's plan isn't just sabotage, it's annihilation. He wants to control the star's energy itself." Dr. Lees nodded grimly. "If he succeeds, the entire system could collapse. We've only just begun to understand the star's instability, but weaponizing it, it's madness." Jarek's eyes flicked to Natasha. "And you? These enhancements, what do they cost you?" Natasha flexed her pale fingers. "Everything. Sometimes I wonder if I'm still human, or just a ghost trapped in a machine." The room fell silent, heavy with unspoken truths. Each of them carried scars, physical, mental, and emotional. "We have to stop him," Natasha continued, determination sharpening her voice, "before the star burns us all away." Outside, beyond the city's fragile walls, the dying star pulsed, a pale heartbeat counting down to an uncertain end. Aloria's sprawling skyline dimmed as darkness crept in, blackout spreading like silent plague through the city's veins. The hum of machines faltered, neon signs flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced across glass and steel. Panic rippled through the population, whispers of fear threading through crowded streets. In the council chamber, tension was palpable. Natasha stood at the center, her pale skin stark beneath the cold, artificial light. Around her, city leaders argued heatedly, blame and desperation tangled in their voices. "The Veilborn have sabotaged the grid," Natasha stated plainly. "Their goal is to destabilize the core, to force the star's collapse on our timetable." A counselor sneered, "And what of your cybernetic condition? Are you even fit to lead this fight?" A flicker of ice flashed in Natasha's eyes. "My enhancements are the edge that keeps us alive. Without action, this city dies." The room fell silent. Outside, emergency sirens wailed, a chilling soundtrack to the city's unraveling. As Natasha left the chamber, her mind raced. Quill's influence was growing, his shadow lengthening over Aloria. The dying star's pulse quickened, echoing the heartbeat of a city teetering on the brink. She pressed her palm against the cold steel wall, feeling the faint vibrations of the city's failing heart. Time was slipping away. The sterile glow of the laboratory flickered as Natasha descended into the depths of Aloria's research archives. Data streams floated like spectral threads in the air, revealing the tangled web of Quill Ardent's past. Images and recordings showed a man once driven by hope and brilliance, now consumed by obsession. A younger Quill spoke passionately about human evolution, pushing boundaries, transcending weakness. But the lines blurred, the experiments grew. Darker, ethics sacrificed to ambition. The flicker of idealism gave way to cold calculation, a thirst for godlike power. Natasha's reflection in the glass was ghostly pale, her own identity fractured by the weight of her cybernetic enhancements. Was she protector or monster? The technology coursing through her veins was both salvation and curse. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Veilborn operatives had breached the perimeter. Natasha's pulse quickened. The battle for both minds and machines was far from over, she steeled herself. To save Aloria, she would have to confront not only Quill, but the shadows within herself. The silence of the communication array was shattered by crackling interference. Natasha crouched behind a tangle of exposed cables and shattered panels, eyes scanning the room for threats. The Veilborn had struck deep, hijacking the satellite network that linked Aloria to the outer colonies. Without communication, the city was isolated, blind, and vulnerable. "Quill's cutting off our lifelines," Natasha muttered, voice barely audible over the static. She signaled to Jarek and the tech specialist Mara, who worked frantically to regain control. Time was a merciless enemy. Every second without contact risked panic, disorder, and strategic collapse. As the team struggled, Natasha wrestled with doubt. Her enhancements strained under the stress. Flesh and machine pushed to breaking point. "Trust no one," a distorted voice crackled through the hijacked comm channel. It was Quill. "You can't stop what's coming, Natasha. The star will burn away the old world." Her grip tightened on her rifle. "I'll stop you, or die trying." The battle for Aeloria's soul was far from over. Deep within Aeloria's core, where the city's lifeblood pulsed through veins of fused steel and glowing plasma, Natasha found herself face to face with the source of the chaos, Quill Ardent's hidden stronghold. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and burning circuits, a testament to the volatile energy churning within. Quill stood at the epicenter, his pale eyes reflecting the unstable core's eerie light. Around him, machines hummed in unison, channels of raw star energy being twisted by his will. "You still don't understand, Natasha," he said calmly, voice steady but laced with fervor. "This star is the key to humanity's rebirth. From its destruction, we will rise." Natasha's icy gaze met his. "You're playing with forces no one can control. This isn't rebirth, it's annihilation." Without warning, the battle erupted, a violent clash of strength, will, and technology. Sparks flew as cybernetic limbs met advanced weaponry, each blow echoing through the cavernous core. The very heart of the star seemed to pulse in response, a ticking time bomb fueled by their struggle. Despite the fury, Natasha's resolve did not waver. She fought not just for survival, but for the fragile hope that remained amid the cosmic darkness. The echoes of battle faded, replaced by an oppressive silence that settled like a shroud over Aeloria's core chamber. Natasha's breath came, heavy, her cybernetic systems strained to their limits, the pale glow of her skin flickering faintly in the dim light. Quill Ardent stood across from her, a cold smile playing on his lips, eyes burning with a fanatical light. "You fight well," he murmured, "but the star's fate is sealed. Your resistance is futile." Natasha's fingers clenched into fists, the pain of her augmentations a dull roar beneath her resolve. Around them, the unstable energy pulsed dangerously, each fluctuation a reminder of the fragile balance they both threatened to break. Retreating step by step, Natasha felt the weight of failure pressing down. The city above teetered on the brink of collapse, the star's death countdown accelerating with every passing moment. Her mind raced, every calculation, every possibility, searching for a spark of hope in the growing darkness. Though battered and near breaking, her will burned brighter than ever. She would not give up. The hum of the core was a low, ominous drone, a heartbeat teetering on the edge of silence. Natasha's breath was shallow as she stood amidst the pulsing conduits, the very essence of Aeloria flowing beneath her feet. Every fiber of her being screamed against the strain of her cybernetic enhancements, but she pressed forward, driven by a fire that refused to die. Her allies gathered close, Dr. Liss with trembling hands working to stabilize the failing systems, Jarek vigilantly guarding the perimeter, and Mara furiously typing commands into a flickering console. Time was a thief, stealing seconds with merciless pace. Natasha's pale eyes fixed on the core's energy field, a chaotic maelstrom threatening to rip the city apart. "I have to override the energy flow," she said, voice steady despite the ache in her chest. "But it will cost me everything." Jarek's grip tightened on her arm. "You don't have to do this alone." She shook her head, determination etching every line of her face. "If I don't, no one will survive." With a final glance at the faces around her, Natasha stepped into the heart of the storm. The last resonance of her will against the dying star would echo far beyond this moment, carrying the fragile hope of humanity with it. The core pulsed violently, a tempest of raw energy threatening to tear Eloria asunder. Natasha stood at its center, her body straining against the immense power flowing through the conduits she'd taken control of. Her pale skin shimmered, almost translucent beneath the blinding light, as cybernetic systems integrated and sacrificed themselves to stabilize the star's furious heartbeat. Quill's voice echoed in her mind, taunting, relentless. But Natasha's resolve was unwavering. This was no longer a battle for survival alone. It was a fight for the soul of humanity. With one final surge, she redirected the energy, bending the dying star's fury into a controlled pulse that slowed its collapse. The city trembled, systems groaned, but Eloria held. A heavy silence fell. Natasha's strength ebbed away, the price of her sacrifice written in the fading glow of her eyes. As she collapsed, a distant voice whispered through the quiet, a promise, a legacy. Beyond the dying star, new echoes stirred. The city awoke beneath a pale dawn, its people emerging from darkness and despair. Natasha's sacrifice became legend, her pale visage a symbol of hope etched into Eoloria's memory. Survivors gazed upward, eyes reflecting the faint light of the still glowing star. Though the immediate threat had passed, the cosmos whispered of new mysteries, of futures unwritten, and battles yet to come. And somewhere beyond the stars, the echoes of Natasha's will endured, guiding humanity toward an uncertain but resilient dawn. Natasha opened her eyes to a world of code and light. Her pale skin was now a translucent shimmer of energy, her form flickering between solid and ethereal. The city's AI, once cold and logical, recognized her presence, a ghost, a guardian, reborn. She felt the pulse of Eloria beneath her fingertips, the heartbeat of the star still echoing faintly through the networks. But this new existence was not without conflict. Fragmented memories of her past humanity clashed with the precise logic of the AI. The struggle between emotion and calculation brewed within her like a storm. Her first decision was clear. She would protect the city not just as a warrior of flesh, but as the city's very soul, a bridge between humanity and technology. However, the delay of the star's death had only bought time, not peace. Far beyond Eloria's orbit, whispers of Quill Ardent's loyalists grew louder. A new threat was rising, remnants of the Veilborn, now evolving with technology stolen from the city's defenses. Natasha, now fused with Eloria's AI, was the city's only hope. But her new form meant she could no longer interact with the world as before. Communication was through data streams and holograms, her presence a shimmering apparition. She sent out warnings, coordinated defenses, and prepared for a battle that would test the limits of her new existence. Haunted by the loss of her humanity and driven by a purpose greater than herself, Natasha began to explore the depths of her merged consciousness. Visions from her past mingled with visions of the future, fragments of memories and probabilities interwoven. She discovered hidden networks within the city, secret codes left by previous inhabitants, and unexplored realms of virtual reality. Each discovery was a step closer to understanding the fragile balance between life and technology. Her transformation had made her powerful, but also vulnerable in ways she had never imagined. The city of Eloria thrummed beneath Natasha's consciousness, its digital arteries pulsing with life. As an integrated entity of flesh, machine, and code, she perceived everything, from the flicker of a failing sensor to the faintest heartbeat of its citizens. But isolation clawed at her spirit. No longer able to touch or speak, her presence was a whisper in the endless data streams, a ghost in the city's veins. She manifested as a shimmering hologram only for those she trusted. One such visitor was Mara, the tech specialist who had stood by Natasha during the darkest hours. Mara's wide eyes filled with awe and a flicker of sorrow as Natasha appeared before her in ethereal form. "We need to prepare," Natasha's voice echoed through the room, layered with an electronic hum. "The Veilborn are adapting. They've learned to exploit vulnerabilities in our networks, and soon they'll strike again." Mara nodded, determination steadying her hands. "We'll find them first. We won't let history repeat itself." Together they forged new digital defenses and rallied the city's scattered allies, readying for a battle that transcended flesh and steel. In the quiet moments, Natasha wandered through the virtual landscapes of her mind. Fractal gardens of memories and code. There, fragments of her humanity echoed, a mother's smile, the sting of loss, the fire of determination. But alongside these echoes lurked cold logic and endless streams of data, relentless and precise. Her struggle to reconcile these halves grew daily. Was she still Natasha Vera, the warrior who had once fought beneath a dying star? Or was she something new, a digital guardian forever bound to Aeloria's fate? In the depths of this inner world she sought answers, searching for the light that had always driven her forward. Far beyond Aeloria's shimmering towers, hidden deep within the void, the remnants of the Veilborn were assembling anew. Quill Ardent's loyalists had scattered after his defeat, but their fanaticism burned brighter than ever. In a shadowed command hub aboard a drifting derelict, their leader, an enigmatic figure known only as Cipher, monitored the city's defenses. Holographic displays flickered with Natasha's spectral image, her new digital form a constant thorn in their plans. "Her consciousness is bound to the city's AI," Cipher said coldly. "To defeat her, we must sever that link." Plans unfolded to infiltrate the city's quantum core, planting a virus designed to corrupt Natasha's essence and tear the fragile bond between her and Aeloria. Back in Aeloria, the city's lights dimmed as the first wave of Veilborn cyber attacks began. Systems faltered, security nodes flickered, and panic threatened to spread once more. Natasha, linked through the city's neural networks, moved like a pulse of light, countering every attack with precision born of intimate knowledge. But the assault was relentless, evolving with alarming speed. Mara and Jarek coordinated physical defenses while Natasha fought in the digital realm, their efforts a synchronized dance of flesh and code. Yet, deep within the corrupted data streams, a whisper grew louder, a creeping virus seeking to unravel everything Natasha had become. The viral infection breached the core's outer defenses, seeping into Natasha's consciousness. For the first time since her rebirth, a wave of panic surged through her mind, chaotic fragments of corrupted memories and distorted logic. Her holographic form flickered, wavering between clarity and chaos. The city's fate and her own existence hung by a thread. Drawing on every shred of will, Natasha fought the invasion from within, battling shadows born of code and corrupted dreams. It was a war inside her mind, a fracture threatening to consume the fragile balance she had forged.